Hello, my name is Jaehyeon Park, and today I will be presenting the paper titled Definitions of Esports, a Systematic Review and Thematic Analysis, written by Jessica Formosa et al. This paper conducts a systematic review of recent academic literatures and discusses the characteristics and definition of esports. This paper was published in KaiPlay 2022. The esports industry has undergone a great transformation in recent years. Its revenue landscape was estimated at around 24 billion US dollars and gathered more than 500 million viewers. Along with increasing popularity, the esports industry has been undergoing many transformations in its domain as well. Some examples would be professional leagues, streaming services, training programs, and so on. With such emergence of the industry, it began to gain an international recognition by having esports as an official medal sport for the 19th Asian Games in Hangzhou, China. Such growth and popularity has also been expanded to the field of academic research as well. There's been much scholarly work done in esports players' health, performance development, cheat detection, social support, and so on. Despite such popularity, there has been continued disagreement on what esports really encompasses. For example, while some argue that the competitiveness of gaming is the essence of esports, some believe that it must not ignore the non-competitive streamers as well. Along with that, some argue that esports is just an extension of traditional physical sports, while some view it as a whole different field. The authors believe such disagreements are examples of esports lacking a standard definition for literature and also shows a conflicting views by the academic researchers and industry experts. So they believe that there must be an established standard definition or characterization of esports for further growth and research of this field, with the following research questions as shown on the slides. To answer these questions, authors conducted a systematic review of existing academic literatures on esports with the specifications of Prisma statement and Prisma as checklist, which helps researchers identify key areas of focus. I will not go over how the papers were selected for reviews in detail, but in summary, as shown in the figure, authors identified 13,665 papers through initial searches on various databases, then went through a series of screening processes that excluded papers under these excluding criteria and resulted with 461 eligible papers. The authors then reported the characteristics of these eligible papers. The first element that they noticed was the variety of citations for definition of esports. Out of the 461 reviewed papers, there were a total of 183 different citations to define esports. Out of these, 12 papers were cited 5 times or more. The most cited definition with 98 citations was by Hamari and Soblom, which they defined as stated on the slide. Authors, however, suggest that the existing definitions of esports does not contain all aspects of esports, which will be dealt in the following slides. Overall, from these initial observations, it was evident that there is an absence of a consistent definition of esports in the academic literature. Then the authors reviewed all the definitions of esports from the 461 eligible papers and went through analysis and identified 9 dimensions that indicate the main aspects of esports. The following terms in the slide are the final dimensions that the authors identified. It is also important to note that some definitions were double-coded, which means that some definitions contain multiple dimensions. Looking at the distribution of the dimensions, it is clear that most of the literatures had greater interest in the four following dimensions: competitive gaming, organized activity, professionalism, and esports as a sport. The authors then examined the distribution of the dimensions across academic disciplines. Here, there is a relatively consistent spread of dimensions across the disciplines. With some extent, there has been slightly larger proportion of dimensions of professionalism in the discipline of environmental studies, and the dimension of organized activity is in the discipline of philosophy and religion. Along with that, the dimension of gambling, the smallest dimension among the 9, is only dealt in disciplines of social science and humanities. The authors then move on to the discussion of the results. First, with the publication trends. The authors indicated that there has been a steady increase in the number of publications about esports. Also, the nationality of the first authors of the majority of the papers were from North America, Western Europe, and Asia Pacific regions. However, it is important to note that only English written papers were examined. Also, the authors indicated an interesting observation that even the spelling of the word esport has not been agreed upon literature. In 2017, Associated Press endorsed the correct spelling to be esports with all lower cases, which made it the most popular spelling throughout the papers. However, authors noted that this spelling is not the only endorsed one, because some countries like Germany considers esports with a dash as the correct spelling. Along with that, another popular spelling, esports with the uppercase S, is prevalent in Western Europe. Another discussion the author had was about esports as an extent of traditional physical sports or not. According to the analysis, there's been a general agreement with 74% on esports as a type of sport, while only 1% argued against it. The authors, however, argue that making a direct comparison between physical sport and esport, or as they claim it, sportification, is unnecessary. This is because such identification would rely on clear and consistent definition of traditional physical sport as well, but this term is also debated. With such studies, discussions, and observations in mind, the authors concluded that there has not been a clear consensus on the definition of esports. However, from their thematic analysis and the 9 identified dimensions of esports, they believe that the 2 aspects, competition and organization, are essential qualities of esports. For other dimensions, the authors believe that they were not entirely necessary for esports, but still valid indicators when present in video game plays. Lastly, while some argue that only professional video game plays are considered esports, the authors believe that all levels of expertise, from professional level to amateurs, must be included as the other traditional sports do. And therefore, the authors suggest the following as the characterization of esports: organized, competitive digital gaming played on a spectrum of professionalism. Its organized and competitive aspects lead to elements often associated with, but not necessarily for esports, including spectators and fans, tournaments and leagues, training and skill development, and sponsorship, commercial partnerships, and prize money. Limitations that the authors identified are their limited numbers of papers examined. For example, as mentioned before, only English written papers have been examined, which may have ignored a great number of publications related to such topic. Along with that, authors believe that there must be a coherence between the academic research and the general public, which the general public normally talks about such topic in websites, news articles, and grade literatures. For this paper, only peer-reviewed academic papers have been examined, which does not consider what the general public believes. In conclusion, the authors were able to identify the growth of academic interest in field of esports, and it also identified its trend and suggested a clear dimensions and characterization of esports. This characterization can be a great foundation and guideline for further research according to the authors. And thank you.